Hey folks, this is Kelani. With the battle for Azeroth nearly upon us, I figure it might be a good time to look at how the content as a whole is doing, and more specifically I wanted to have a little chat about one of the largest problems that I see as we level up to the new cap of 120 and beyond. For the most part, I'm really excited for the next expansion. It looks like there's going to be plenty to do between the new island expeditions, the warfront system, and all of the usual content we see with another expansion like new dungeons, new raids, and new areas to explore. But there is one thing missing right now, something that we usually have and are introduced to either when we hit max level or on our way through the new leveling experience. We don't really have any huge character-specific progression. We don't really get anything or change too much from 110 to 120. The rotations and playstyle that you have right now in pre-patch will mirror your rotation and playstyle at max level very closely, because nothing will really change as you level up. Let's take a closer look at this whole and see what usually fills the gaps and what we have in its place. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't see the new cinematic that the WoW YouTube channel just put up, go check it out. It's called The Old Soldier, and it might give you just a little hope if you were disappointed after our last little installment of the pre-patch event. Alright, so what's the problem here? We've gone through plenty of expansions at this point, and this might be the first time that we don't see any significant change from old level cap to new level cap, even after the pre-patch changed up quite a few specs. There's usually new abilities, new talents, new systems to unlock on our way to the new level cap, but we don't really have anything of the sort in Battle for Azeroth. With set bonuses and legendaries being left behind, we're also kind of losing bits and pieces of our kit as we level up. There's currently no new legendaries to fill the gaps, and set bonuses won't be a thing in Battle for Azeroth. At least set bonuses from raids won't be. So that's two systems which we won't see for a while, but there's also no new talent rows, which means the last talent most classes unlock will be at level 100, and from there they don't really gain anything meaningful. We've already lost our artifact weapon, so that's a bunch of passives and an active ability for everyone down the drain, but the problem is there's not really anything to replace it. Right now, if you level from 100 to 110, you won't really see any changes either, so 100 to 120 will literally just be about the levels you're getting instead of new abilities, new talents, or generally just any cool new stuff at all. I guess the good part of that is that you only need to play a character to 100 to see if you're going to like it or not. Practically nothing is going to change between level 100 and 120, so if you don't enjoy your class at 100, you're probably not going to have any more fun with it at 120. This has actually been the case for a good chunk of the leveling process for a while now. A lot of different bits and pieces were removed in the name of streamlining the process and overall just making leveling more user-friendly. No more ranks for spells, so you don't have to learn them from a trainer every few levels, spells magically appear in your spellbook at the right levels, and talents were changed a while ago to only reward you every 15 levels. Some of these changes did their job. They made the game more accessible and less time-consuming, but it also removed a lot of the rewards you got while leveling. I think some of these changes were beneficial, but now you can go through huge chunks of the leveling process without learning a new ability or spell. That might be fine for the lower levels to some degree, but to get that same thing throughout a new expansion is a little boring. We do get one thing to fill the gap though. Okay, maybe two at a stretch. The first thing is a new artifact, the Heart of Azeroth. This little gizmo soaks up the lifeblood of our planet to increase your item level and help you unlock more powers in the second thing, Azerite Armor. Azerite Armor has up to 4 traits on it which can augment some of your abilities, so what's the problem? That sounds very similar to the artifact system that we're leaving behind from Legion. Well, yes and no. Azerite, or artifact power, will be required to level up your amulet so it can do its job, so we'll be back to grinding AP again, nothing new there, in the same sort of way we did during Legion. This time we won't be unlocking anything in the artifact itself though, but as you level up the amulet it does go up in item level. So we have a piece of gear which we can increase the item level of just by grinding out more and more AP. Right now for each level the amulet gets, it will increase by 2 item level. There are some other ways to increase its item level, like gaining reputation with the Champions of Azeroth faction, but for the most part you're going to be limited in the same way we were throughout Legion. Instead of researching artifact knowledge, the amount of AP to level up your amulet will just be reduced over time. So by the end of the expansion we'll still be getting hundreds of artifact power for each little thing we do, but that will level up your amulet way faster than it did at the start. That was the plan anyway, to prevent us from farming up billions of artifact power once again. I think the amulet actually works pretty well in a form of character progression with how it increases in item level the more AP you farm, but it has two issues. The first is that the amulet doesn't give you anything past item level, so while it's nice to see your eye level go up, you won't really see any differences in gameplay or playstyle. It's just like replacing a ring or a belt or any other of your slots. The other issue is that you're going to be limited by the required amounts of artifact power anyways. There will come a point where it's just not worth the time investment to try and farm AP to increase the item level further, just how like artifact knowledge limited us in Legion. Sure, you can spend days and days just farming non-stop, or you can wait a week or two for the requirements to go down and get the same results in a fraction of the time. The folks who were farming up AP in Legion ahead of the AK curve were nuts. Absolutely nuts. It's never going to be worth your time trying to get ahead of that curve. So the amulet provides a little bit. What about Azerite armor? It provides us with 4 new traits or powers, right? Well, maybe once you've got to 120 and been there for a while, sure. To start off with, your Azerite armor will only have 3 traits, and you need to level up your amulet to unlock them all, which is great. That's the kind of progression I want to see. Unlock more goodies as we level up or progress forward. Well, the last trait in every piece of Azerite armor is plus 5 item level to the piece of equipment itself, so we're actually down to 2 traits to start with. The traits on your inner circle are always passive and will always be minor increases to utility or defense, so we're kind of down to just the 1 trait on each piece of Azerite armor to begin with. With a piece of Azerite armor in all 3 slots, head, shoulder and chest, that gives us 3 new traits to work with, except you might not even get all 3 slots covered until you reach max level. You're only guaranteed 1 piece of Azerite armor while leveling, and depending on which quests you do and if you decide to venture into the dungeons before you hit max level, you could ding 120 with 1 piece of Azerite armor or 3. That 1 piece, by the way, is given to you right before you start questing in your new zones, so you get 1 piece for free at level 110, and you might not get any more until you reach max level. Obviously, if you go out of your way to make sure you get the appropriate quests done, you can ding with 3 pieces to your name, but they'll get replaced almost instantly either by dungeon drops or emissary rewards. For me, it comes back to nothing changing while leveling and not having much to work towards. When you start getting gear from mythic dungeons in the first raid, you will start to see 4 trait Azerite armor pieces. These give you a secondary trait which might actually do something useful or cool, which is really nice, but you're going to have to level up your amulet quite a bit more to make use of anything on epic gear. The powers themselves have also been under quite a bit of scrutiny, simply because you won't ever get a new active ability from Azerite traits from what we've seen so far. Even the loot from raids only has passive effects, so even though some of these can seem quite powerful or fun, only a handful will affect your playstyle in any meaningful way. The majority of them are simple damage increases to a variety of spells. With them largely being passive effects which just give you a numbers boost, this also makes them very vulnerable to becoming automatic options. If you have 3 different traits available and one has been calculated by the community to give you the best damage increase, you probably won't even look at the other options. If the Azerite traits change your playstyle or how your abilities interact with each other, like how a lot of our golden traits on our old artifacts actively change something about our abilities, you could opt to take riskier options for higher potential rewards, or simply choose the Azerite traits which fit your playstyle the best. Right now I think we're going to have a set of best Azerite traits for each class, and if you don't pick the right ones, you'll probably just end up paying a few gold to reset them later on down the line. With the item level of your amulet and the passive traits on Azerite armor being the only character progression you can work on, it feels like this expansion might end up a little lacking after coming out of Legion. Maybe that's the problem, maybe we shouldn't be comparing the Battle for Azeroth systems with the Legion systems, but as we lose access to more and more of those systems and as our rotations and playstyle become more static and potentially less exciting, it just feels a little weird to me that we don't know of anything that could change things up significantly. We might end up playing the exact same way from the start of Battle for Azeroth to the start of the next expansion. Right now, Azerite powers feel a lot like the passives in our artifact weapons. They're almost filler traits that we have to unlock before we can get to the good stuff. But what if Azerite powers were the good stuff? What if they shifted from these passive effects which don't have much impact to something that more closely resembled the set bonuses which typically actively change up your priority and rotation? What if they went off the deep end and ended up as powerful as legendaries? Honestly, I don't even care if they're as powerful as legendaries, but as impactful as legendaries. Something to change up the rotation, providing more or different active abilities, changing how our abilities interact with each other. That's where the fun has always been in new expansions, new systems, and new raid tiers. There's a lot of potential with Azerite armor and powers. I just don't think we're seeing any of it right now in the first tier of raiding or in the first season of Mythic Plus. Failing that, a new row of talents could have been nice. We have enough extra levels to plop another 15 level difference between the rows now. A new talent at 115 would mean picking up something halfway through leveling, which would have been nice. I've seen a lot of threads and comments talking about wanting new talents, and only a few seem to offer some viable sources of those talents. One that I found really interesting is taking some legendary effects from Legion and just plonking them in a new talent row. As you hit 115, you get a new talent which lets you keep a legendary effect from Legion, and then after 115 you lose your legendaries anyways. Seems like a good trade to me, except it looks like Blizzard might be having a few problems with talents anyways. Quite a few legendaries or artifact abilities have already made their way into the talent section of a lot of classes, so I guess the legendary idea might not work out all too well. But with a few classes feeling a little bare bones right now, and knowing we're not really going to see anything meaningful added in to bulk us up anytime soon, I'm really curious where all this will lead. The dev team has said time and time again that they're removing things now to make room for some new stuff later. I just can't wait to see what the new stuff is when it's finally introduced. Either way, I'm really excited to get to max level and start grinding for gear. I know the content in Battle for Azeroth is good, I've been playing it for the last few months and I'm still excited to get through it all on a live character. I just wish there was a bit more character progression through the leveling system, or just at least waiting for us when we hit max level. What do you think of our new artifact and the Azerite armor in terms of character progression in Battle for Azeroth? Do you think there'll be enough? Do you wish we had a little bit more? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. If you want to hop on that train, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.